Welcome to the first lesson that we're going to be covering in our growth groups entitled Gods at War. I'm excited about sharing this with you. We're talking about gods at war, defeating the gods and the idols that battle for our hearts. I want you to start out by imagining a man who is constantly coughing. I'm talking about a cough that keeps him up at night. It interrupts conversations for minutes on end. This cough is so unrelenting that he goes to the doctor. The doctor runs tests. He finds out that it's lung cancer. Now, the doctor knows it's going to be tough to handle this kind of news, so he doesn't tell the patient that it's cancer. Instead, he comes in, he writes a prescription for some strong cough syrup, and he tells him that if he take this medicine, he'll feel better very soon. This man's happy with the prognosis. He ends up sleeping better that night. He took the cough medicine, and it took care of the problem for a while. Meanwhile, the cancer is gradually eating away at his body. Now, I talk to people all the time. They aren't coughing, but they're hurting. They're struggling. They're cheating. They're stressing. They're lusting. They're spending. They're worrying. They're quitting. They're medicating. They're avoiding. They're searching. They share their struggles with me and they unload their frustrations. They express discouragement. They confess their sins and they display their wounds. They think they figured it all out. They think the cough is the problem, but really it's a symptom rather than the real illness. I've learned that their real issue isn't what they think it is. Actually, it's always idolatry. Idolatry isn't one of many sins. It's the one great sin that all others come from. If you start searching deeper into your problem, when you get deep enough, you'll find idolatry. The false god is at the root. And until that idol is dethroned and the God of heaven has his rightful place, you won't have victory. Idolatry isn't an issue, it's the issue. When God gave Moses the Ten Commandments, there's a reason the very first one that he gave was, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me." Not because he's an insecure God, but because the truth is this: there is only one God who can help us. There's only one God who can direct us and satisfy us and save us. But you say, that was a long time ago. We live in America in 2017. We don't have many gods and false idols everywhere. We may not have the God of sex or the God of agriculture or the God of commerce or the God of recreation, but we do have portfolios and automobiles and adult entertainment and sports. Just because we give it a new name does not change the fact that it's still an idol. The gods that want to control our hearts are often amoral. They're neither good or bad. The problem comes when something takes the place of God. In that moment, it becomes a God in our lives. Anytime something or someone takes the place of God and receives a position of glory in our lives, then by definition, it has become a God. To find out what the gods in your life look like, look at what you pursue. Also, look at what you create. Because the second commandment that God gave Moses was to not make other gods to worship. When Moses and Joshua came back to the Israelites after they received the Ten Commandments on Mount Sinai, they found that Aaron had allowed the people to make a golden calf to worship because they didn't know if Moses was even alive. They traded the Creator God for a God of their own creation. It's not a very good trade. We're no different. We replace God with statues of our own creation, a house that we're constantly upgrading, a promotion at work, acceptance by our peers, a team that wins the championship, a body that is toned and fit. We work hard at molding our golden calves. But you could say that about anything. I can hear people say right now, you could take any issue, anything someone is devoted to, and make it out to be idolatry. Exactly, that's the point. Anything can become an idol or a substitute for God. Anything that becomes the purpose or driving force of your life probably points back to idolatry of some kind. If you plan on going shopping while you are still far in debt, then why would you do that? If you have a food addiction, why? If you spend countless hours fixing up a house or a car, then why? Our sins and struggles grow from idolatry. Idolatry is like the trunk of the tree that our problems branch off from. Let's talk about the battleground of these gods. Every time you search something online, you are leaving a trail. Some people think that if they delete their search history, then no one will ever see it. Let me remind you, the internet never forgets. People can always see what you searched for. Now, since I can't check your internet search history, I want you to examine your own heart and see what you're searching for. Proverbs 4:23 says, "Keep your heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." Your heart defines and determines who you are, how you think, and what you do. Everything flows from it. Your heart is the front line of the gods at war. What's the source of a polluted life full of idolatry? Let's use our imaginations for a moment. Imagine you're out for a hike on a beautiful spring day. You're walking by a beautiful stream, a creek there, and you're just relaxing to the sound of running water. As you keep walking, you notice there's a lot of trash that someone has dumped into the stream. It looks terrible. So terrible that you can't even enjoy the peaceful stream and a beautiful day. Judging by the empty pop cans and the trash that's been there for quite a while, you can tell that somebody has really just trashed this place. You can't leave it like that because it bothers your conscience. You stoop down and you begin gathering the trash. It takes you several hours before you can even begin to see a difference. It's amazing how much junk is there. You sit down to rest and you soon realize that you'll have to come back every single day until it's done, just because there's that much junk. But you don't mind because when you're done, it'll be a project you're proud of. You come back the next day, and to your surprise, it's like your work has been undone. There's more trash there now than the day before. It doesn't look like someone came to that spot and dumped trash, and you realize something seems different. You begin to follow the creek upstream. You eventually come to the problem. There's a garbage dump that has been dumping garbage into that creek for years. Your garbage cleanup only opened the gap for more stuff to settle in. You could go and clean every single day, but it wouldn't do any good. If you want to be clean, here's what you'll have to do. You'll have to go to the source and deal with what's there. The heart is the source that your life flows from. I'm talking about your actions, your thoughts, your emotions. How much of your life do you spend dealing with the visible garbage rather than what produces it? It seems easier to pick up a little trash rather than clean up the dump. But dealing with what's upstream is the real issue. That's where the battlefield is. That's where the war is won. Many people aren't dealing with the heart. The heart of the matter is the heart. We deal with the symptoms rather than the heart. If you have a gambling problem, then you stay away from the casino and you make it harder to access your accounts. If you have an anger problem, then you maybe take a deep breath and you count to 10. If your marriage is in trouble, then you schedule some date nights and buy your spouse a gift. If you're drowning in debt, you cut up your credit cards. Now listen, those are all good things to do, just like picking up the trash downstream is good. But you aren't dealing with the source of the problem. The source of the problem, the battleground of the gods, is the heart. You need to walk upstream and consider your life for a moment. If you are having a lot of anxiety and worry problems, you might say, I love the Lord and I don't have any issues with idolatry. My problem is that I just tend to worry too much. I become very anxious. I have anxiety attacks. Let's take a hike upstream. What is it that's in your heart that's causing all that worry? Maybe if you dug deep enough, you'd find a deep need to be in control of things. That need for relentless control is a goad that has taken ground in your life. The more control you crave, the more that craving will control you. It becomes your God. Maybe the God of control is working with the God of comfort. And when you aren't in control and you feel uncomfortable, and so your anxiety breaks out, and because comfort and control are winning the battlefield and the battleground of your heart. We could go on and on with so many different things. It all comes down to what's happening in your heart. And that's why Jesus put so much emphasis on the heart. He wasn't quick to reward good behavior if the heart was not right. We want to focus on the outside. Jesus makes the point that it's all about what's on the inside. The Pharisees came to Jesus in Matthew chapter 5, said, your disciples aren't washing their hands. They're not keeping our customs. They're not doing the right thing. And Jesus said, it's not what you put on that you put into your body that defiles a man. It's what's on the inside in the heart. The heart is the battleground for the gods because everything flows from it. It's hard to see ourselves as idol worshipers, but whatever our symptoms might be, we need to realize that they are simply connected to the heart and what occupies our heart. That's where the battle is fought. Let's look at the spiritual health of our hearts. I'm going to ask you some very probing personal questions that only you can answer, but you need to do it honestly. I want you to take time right now. Maybe you have to pause the video, whatever you need to do. Take time right now to write down your answers. I want you to bring them with you to our growth group meeting this Sunday. Number one, what disappoints you? When you feel overwhelmed by disappointment, it's a good sign that something has become far more important to you than it should be. If you could identify your greatest disappointments, where would you point? Would it be with your children, with your career, with your finances? A myriad of other things. What disappoints you? Number two, what do you complain about the most? Now, you might need to ask a family member to answer this for you. Is it your financial situation that you complain about? The lack of respect at your office? The kind of year your team is having? Whining shows what has power over us. Whining is the opposite of worshiping God. Number three, where do you make financial sacrifices? Where your treasure is, that's where your heart will be. Your heart follows your treasure, your money. Number four, what worries you? Maybe losing someone, losing a relationship, losing your job, being ridiculed, fear of being alone. What keeps you awake at night? What worries you? It has the potential to be an idol. Number five, what makes you really angry? Everyone has a hot button or two, something that just infuriates you. When someone embarrasses you, maybe traffic is slow or someone does something stupid while they're driving. Your quick temper could reveal the oldest idol of them all. And we're going to cover this one, the God of me. Number six, what are your dreams? What fantasy has a grip on you and puts a twinkle in your eye? Dreams are very good, but why do you aspire to those things? Is your motivation to give God glory? Or is your motivation your own glory and your own fame and your own fortune? The God of heaven, who deserves to be the only God worshipped in our lives, is a very jealous God. I love the story of Michael Jordan. Years ago, Michael Jordan wrote a book called Driven from Within. And he told a very eye-opening story in this book. He had gone to visit a friend at his home. Fred Whitfield was the president and COO, the chief operating officer of another NBA team. The two of them were getting ready to go out to dinner when Jordan said, "Man, it's too cold. It's kind of cold outside. Can I borrow one of your jackets?" He said, "Sure." He told him where the closet was. Jordan disappeared down the hall, and everything was quiet for a moment. Then he reappeared carrying an armful of branded athletic jackets and shirts and shoes and all kinds of other gear. He dumped the whole pile on the floor and he disappeared down the hall again to get some more. Whitfield looked at the pile of stuff and he noticed that all the items were made by Puma, a rival of Nike. Jordan had found that the closet had items made both by both manufacturers, Puma and Nike. And Jordan didn't approve of that because of his close association with Nike. The Nike items were there because he was Jordan's friend. The Puma items were there because he was Ralph Sampson's friend, who was also an ex-player who promoted Puma. Jordan walked into the kitchen, came out with a butcher knife, and cut the pile of gear on the floor into 1,000 pieces. After he completely destroyed the athletic gear, he gathered it all up again and carried it to a dumpster so he could dispose of it. When he was done, Jordan told Whitfield, "Hey dude, call my Nike representative tomorrow and tell him to replace all of this. But don't ever let me see you again in anything other than Nike. You can't ride the fence." Now, I don't condone what Jordan did, especially if you want to keep close friends. But he has a point. At some point, you have to smash the idols. God doesn't want you to just make room in your closet for him. He wants the closet to himself. If your name was actually your most dominant personality trait, what would it be? Would your name be time waster? Would your name be strong protector? Maybe your name would be cheapskate. Now, when we talk about God being jealous, we aren't talking about the emotion a junior high girl feels when her crush makes eye contact with another girl. God is jealous of your heart, not in some kind of petty or insecure way, but in a loving way. He loves you too much to share you. I remember when I've been jealous over my wife. I don't want someone else flirting with her or for her to divide her affection and love between me and another man. I want all of her because I love her so much. God's love for us is so immense and so powerful that he is intolerant of idolatry in our lives. God is saying, you choose between me and money, me and that relationship, me and your career, me and the house. God isn't happy being one of many gods that we worship. We're to love him with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. If someone were to ask you, what's so special about Christianity? What sets it apart from Islam or Hinduism or Buddhism or anything else? Here's the answer. Nowhere else do we find God in hot pursuit of his people. Our God sent his son Jesus to die for us. That's how much he pursues us and wants a relationship with us. You can't understand the seriousness of idolatry without understanding the jealousy of a holy God that loves you. He is jealous for your whole heart.